sometimes you just have to throw dynamite in the log jam. So I live here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and lots of logging has happened here over history. And one of the ways they got logs to market, as you probably know, is by sending them down a river. Sometimes when you send logs down a river, though, they'll get stuck. They'll get into a bend in the river, and a couple of the logs kind of wedge themselves in there, and they get stuck, and it makes a log jam, and the logs start piling up behind it. And you can push and prod on that log jam for a while, and some will move through, and a little bit by little bit, and you can poke at it and slowly pull the logs out. But really, if you want to get that log jam to move, what they did back in the day was they would take a stick of dynamite or 2 or 5 and chuck them out into the river, into the log jam, and blow it up. They would sacrifice a few of the logs in the river for the greater log jam. So that's kind of what we're doing right now in our current sprint. There's just several different things that we're doing where I'm lighting the sticks and I'm throwing them in the river. One of our teams at our sprint planning day, when we planned out our sprint, we set this goal for by the next sprint we were going to run a full end-to-end. So we would have clear deliverables out of this sprint, but by the next sprint we were going to have a full end-to-end cycle of a single transaction, which is really exciting. Everybody's very on board with that. But what that meant is that the work that one of my teams does for this entire sprint is really going to be throwaway work. Now, it took them a little bit to get to the point where they were okay with that, but you know what? They were like, this is the best thing for moving the whole project forward, is for us to build out some stubs and build out some fake pieces here that will allow us to run this whole thing end to end and test out all the other systems, all the other pieces of it. And this was our web services part of the group that was doing this part that they're saying is going to be throwaway. Now, halfway through the sprint here, well, halfway through, a few days into the sprint, they've said, it's actually going to be less throwaway than we thought, which is not surprising, because they're learning things, right? They're learning things as they're making these pieces that were throwaway that they're going to be able to reuse later. So, one piece of dynamite, they're going to do this throwaway work, but it's better for the whole project to do this little piece of throwaway work. Little piece, it's like 5 guys and gals all developing this work for 3 weeks that they know is going to be throwaway, but they're all behind it. Another thing, we have some skill gaps with needing some database DBA resources, and some very specific skill sets in DBA, as well as something called BEPL. If you're not familiar with it, it doesn't matter, but using this business language to, I'm going to just wait right here, to do some of our manipulations of data. That's all, I'll leave it at that. But we're having trouble finding people who can do that, and I talked with one of our resource managers today about getting people to do it, and we talked with an offshore company today about, well, we've got some Java people, they said, but they don't really know what you need them to know, but we can train them on it, and we can get them trained up in how to do it, and then they'd be able to do it. And my response after the meeting to this resource manager was, look, if we have to go to Oracle, and that's who BEPL is through, if we have to go to Oracle and get an expert in this, I would rather do that. Spend a little bit extra, but you know what? In the long run, we're not spending extra, because if we have to train these Java developers in BEPL, we're going to be wasting more money. One expert out of Oracle is worth 4 offshore people who don't know the technology. Now, if they knew the technology, that's a different story. We can talk about the pros and cons of offshoring. But if we have to teach them the whole technology, it's not worth it. So we need to take some dynamite, throw it in the river, stop messing around, and just get the resources that we really, really need. Same thing on the DBA side. If we need to go and get these resources that we really need from Sybase, is the other the other database that we're using. If we need to just go get them, let's just go get them, and let's not mess around with trying to find a contractor or trying to find somebody from in our company to train in that. We need them now. We need to throw some dynamite in this river and get this thing moving. So that's my challenge to you today, is where in your project are you tolerating little things that are beginning to pile up, and you're tolerating those little things in trying, you don't want to sacrifice those little things, but they're really stopping the progress of the entire project. And if you throw some dynamite in the river, sacrifice a few of the logs, your whole project will bust loose and those logs will start flowing down the river.